Have you ever been in a room full of people and felt completely invisible, like you didn't matter at all? If you enjoyed hearing this question, please hit that like button, share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel. We love hearing from you, so tell us in the comments where you're watching from right now. Marcus sat in his wheelchair near the back corner of the grand wedding hall, watching hundreds of people laugh, dance, and celebrate. The chandeliers sparkled above like 1,000 tiny stars. The music was loud and joyful. Everyone wore their finest clothes, their faces bright with happiness. But not a single person looked at Marcus. He had been sitting in the same spot for 2 hours. 2 whole hours. His throat felt dry and scratchy, but he didn't ask anyone for water. His stomach rumbled with hunger, but the servers walked right past him with their silver trays of fancy food. It was like he was a ghost that nobody could see. Marcus was a rich man. Very rich. He owned 3 big companies and had more money than he could ever spend. But money couldn't buy him new legs at work. Money couldn't make people see him as a real person instead of just a man in a wheelchair. And today, money certainly couldn't make anyone at this wedding treat him with kindness. The bride was his cousin's daughter, Victoria. Marcus had known her since she was a tiny baby. He had sent her gifts every birthday. He had paid for a college education when her parents said they couldn't afford it. But when he arrived at her wedding today, Victoria had looked at him with cold eyes, given him a quick fake smile, and walked away without saying thank you for coming. Her new husband, Richard, had been even worse. He had stared at Marcus's wheelchair with disgust, whispered something to his friends, and they had all laughed. Marcus had pretended not to notice, but his heart had felt heavy and sad. Now, as the wedding reception continued, Marcus wondered why he had even come. Nobody wanted him here. Nobody cared. He was about to call his driver to take him home when he heard a small voice beside him. "Mister, are you okay?" Marcus turned his head and saw a little girl standing next to his wheelchair. She looked about 7 or 8 years old, with dark curly hair pulled into 2 ponytails and big brown eyes that sparkled with concern. She wore a simple yellow dress that looked old and worn, but clean. In her hand, she held a small plate with a piece of chocolate cake. "I'm fine, sweetheart," Marcus said quietly, trying to smile. "Thank you for asking." The little girl tilted her head, studying him carefully. "You don't look fine. You look sad and lonely. Why are you sitting all by yourself?" Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. This child, this small stranger, had noticed him when hundreds of adults had not. "What's your name?" he asked. "I'm Lily," she said brightly. "My mama works here. She's serving food to all the fancy people." "What's your name?" "I'm Marcus." "Well, Marcus, I brought you some cake. It's really, really good. The chocolate frosting is my favorite part." Lily held out the plate to him with both hands, being very careful not to drop it. Marcus felt his eyes getting wet. Nobody had brought him anything all day. "That's very kind of you, Lily, but this is your cake. You should eat it." Lily shook her head firmly. "Nope, I already had 2 pieces. Mama said I shouldn't eat more or I'll get a tummy ache. But you haven't eaten anything. I was watching you." "You were watching me?" Marcus asked, surprised. "Uh-huh. I saw how nobody talks to you. That's not nice. My mama says everyone deserves kindness, no matter what they look like or how much money they have or if they can walk or not." Lily placed the plate carefully on Marcus's lap. "So here, eat the cake, and I'll get you some water too. Okay? You keep touching your throat like it's thirsty." Before Marcus could respond, Lily skipped away toward a refreshment table. He watched her go, this tiny girl in her old yellow dress, moving through a crowd of rich people in their expensive clothes. She grabbed a glass of water from a tray and came bouncing back, being very careful not to spill a single drop. "Here you go," she said, handing the glass. "Cold water just like you needed." Marcus took the glass with shaking hands. "Lily, you are perhaps the kindest person I've met in a very long time." Lily giggled. "That's silly. I'm just being normal. People should help each other. That's what friends do." "Friends," Marcus repeated. "Yeah, we're friends now. I decided." Lily plopped down on the floor, right next to his wheelchair, not caring that her dress might get dirty. Friends sit together so nobody feels alone. Do you want to hear about my day? It's been super interesting. And just like that, in a room full of people who had ignored him, Marcus found himself smiling for the first time all day. This little girl, with her simple kindness, had done what no one else could do. She had made him feel like he mattered. But what Marcus didn't know yet was that Lily's kindness would lead to something much bigger. Something that would change not just his day, but many lives forever. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest miracles. And this was only the beginning. Lily talked and talked, telling Marcus about her cat named Whiskers, her favorite teacher at school, and how she had learned to tie her shoes all by herself last week. Marcus listened to every word, genuinely interested. For the first time in years, someone was treating him like a regular person, not like something broken that needed to be fixed or hidden away. Lily, where are you?" A woman's worried voice cut through the wedding noise. "Over here, Mama." Lily called out, waving her hand. A woman rushed over, wearing a black and white server's uniform. She had the same warm brown eyes as Lily and looked exhausted. Her name tag read Rosa. When she saw Lily sitting on the floor next to Marcus's wheelchair, her face filled with panic. "Lily, oh my goodness." "I'm so sorry, sir," Rosa said quickly, reaching for her daughter's hand. "She wasn't bothering you, was she?" "Lily, I told you to stay in the kitchen area." "She wasn't bothering me at all," Marcus said gently. "She's been wonderful company. The best company I've had all day, actually." Rosa looked surprised. She studied Marcus's face, trying to understand if he was being truthful or just polite. Most rich people at fancy weddings didn't want children around, especially children of the workers. "Mama, this is my new friend Marcus," Lily announced proudly. "He was sitting all alone, and nobody was being nice to him. So I brought him cake and water, just like you taught me." Rose's expression softened. "Well, that was very kind of you, sweetie. But we need to let this gentleman enjoy the wedding. Come on, I need you to stay where I can see you." "Actually," Marcus said, "would it be okay if Lily stayed with me a bit longer? I'd really appreciate the company. And I promise I'll make sure she stays out of trouble." Rosa hesitated. She glanced around nervously. Her boss had warned her to keep Lily out of sight. "Rich people don't want to see the help's children running around," he had said. But something about the sadness in Marcus's eyes made her heart ache. "Please, Mama," Lily begged. "Marcus needs a friend." "Okay," Rose agreed quietly. "But you behave, understand?" "I promise." Lily squealed happily. Rosa nodded at Marcus with gratitude and hurried back to work, carrying her tray of champagne glasses through the crowd. Marcus watched her go, then looked down at Lily. "Your mother is a good woman." "The best," Lily agreed. "She works really, really hard. Sometimes she has 3 jobs in one day. She gets super tired, but she never complains. She says we're building a better future." Marcus's heart squeezed. He knew about hard work and building futures. Once, a very long time ago, he had been poor too, before the businesses, before the money, before the accident that took his ability to walk. He had been a young man who worked 3 jobs just like Rosa, dreaming of something better. "Why did you come to this wedding, Marcus?" Lily asked suddenly. "If nobody here is nice to you, why did you come?" It was an innocent question, but it cut deep. Marcus sighed. "That's a complicated question, little one." "I'm good at complicated things," Lily said seriously. "I can do math with numbers up to 100. Marcus couldn't help but smile. "Well, the bride, Victoria, is family. Her grandmother was my favorite aunt. When Aunt Claire was dying 5 years ago, she made me promise something. She made me promise that I would always watch over Victoria, always be there for her important moments, even if Victoria didn't want me there." "Why wouldn't Victoria want you there?" Lily asked, confused. Marcus looked across the room at Victoria, who was laughing loudly with her new husband and his wealthy friends. "Because Victoria is ashamed of me. She thinks having a disabled cousin makes her look bad. She thinks people will judge her family if they see me." "That's the stupidest thing I ever heard," Lily said, her face scrunched up in anger. "You're really nice. She's the one who should be ashamed, not you." Before Marcus could respond, a loud crash echoed through the wedding hall. Everyone turned to look. One of the servers, a young man who'd been carrying a tray of expensive wine glasses, had tripped and fallen. Red wine spread across the white marble floor like blood. The glasses lay shattered everywhere. "You clumsy idiot!" Richard, the groom, shouted across the room. His face turned red with rage. "Do you know how much those glasses cost? This is our wedding. Everything needs to be perfect." The poor server scrambled his feet, apologizing over and over. His hands shook as he tried to pick up the broken glass. Marcus watched, feeling sick. This was exactly the kind of cruelty he had experienced all his life. One mistake, and suddenly you were worthless in people's eyes. Then he saw Rosa rushing over with a mop and bucket, trying to help clean up the mess quickly. She was trying to save the young server from more embarrassment. "That's my mama," Lily whispered. "She always helps people." But Richard wasn't finished. He stormed over, his expensive shoes clicking on the floor. "Fire him," he demanded to the catering manager. "Fire him right now. I don't want him ruining anything else." "Sir, please, it was an accident," the manager pleaded. "I don't care. Either you fire him, or I'll make sure your entire company never works another event in this city again." Richard's voice boomed through the hall. Victoria stood nearby, saying nothing. She didn't offend the server. She didn't tell her new husband to calm down. She just stood there, sipping her champagne, as if a young man losing his job was no big deal. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. This was who Victoria had become. This was the woman his beloved Aunt Claire had asked him to watch over. A cruel, cold person who cared more about expensive wine glasses than human dignity. "I need to do something," Marcus muttered. "What can you do?" Lily asked, looking up at him with those big, trusting eyes. Marcus looked down at this brave little girl who had shown him more kindness in 30 minutes than his own family had shown him in years. And suddenly, he knew exactly what he needed to do. "Lily," he said quietly, "how would you like to help me teach these people an important lesson?" Lily's eyes went wide with excitement. "What kind of lesson?" "A lesson about what really matters in life," Marcus said. "But I'll need you to be very brave. Can you do that?" Lily stood up, put her hands on her hips, and lifted her chin high. "I'm super brave. What do you need me to do?" Marcus took a deep breath and wheeled himself forward, moving slowly through the crowd. Lily walked right beside him, her small hand resting on the arm of his wheelchair. People stepped back as they approached, creating a path. Some whispered, some stared, but Marcus didn't care anymore. He rolled right up to where Richard stood, still yelling at the trembling server and Rosa, who had been trying to help clean up the mess. "Excuse me," Marcus said loudly. His voice was calm but firm, cutting through the noise. Richard turned around, his angry face showing annoyance. "What do you want? Can't you see we're dealing with a situation here?" "Yes, I can see that," Marcus replied. "I can see a young man who made an honest mistake being treated like garbage. I can see a hard-working woman trying to help being ignored. And I can see a groom who cares more about wine glasses than human beings." The entire wedding hall went silent. Every conversation stopped. The music kept playing, but nobody danced. All eyes turned to Marcus. Victoria rushed over, her face pale. "Marcus, please, don't make a scene. This is my wedding day." "Your wedding day," Marcus repeated slowly. "Yes, Victoria, it is your wedding day. The day I paid for." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victoria's face went from pale to bright red. "What is he talking about?" Richard demanded, looking at his new wife. Marcus continued, his voice carrying across the silent room. "I paid for everything. This hall, the flowers, the food, the music, your wife's wedding dress, everything. It cost $400,000. Victoria told you her parents paid for it, didn't she?" Richard's mouth fell open. He looked at Victoria, who couldn't meet his eyes. "You lied to me?" Richard said, his voice shaking. "You said your family was wealthy. You said your parents owned businesses." "I didn't exactly lie," Victoria stammered. "Marcus's family. His money is family money." "No," Marcus said firmly. "My money is my money. I earned it. I built it from nothing. And I gave it to you freely because I loved your grandmother and I made her a promise. I promised to take care of you, even though you've treated me terribly since the day I ended up in this wheelchair. Lily squeezed Marcus's hand, giving him courage to continue. Do you know what happened to me? Marcus asked, looking around the room. 10 years ago, I was in a car accident. I was driving Victoria home from college for the holidays. A drunk driver hit us. The accident destroyed my spine. I'll never walk again. But Victoria walked away with just a scratch. Tears started rolling down Marcus's cheeks, but he didn't wipe them away. And from that day forward, Victoria acted like I didn't exist. She never visited me in the hospital. She never called to see how I was doing. She never said thank you for the fact that I swerved the car to protect her side, which is why I got hurt worse. Nothing. Victoria started crying too, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of shame. Today, I came to your wedding because I made a promise to your grandmother, Marcus continued. I sat in that corner for 2 hours, and not one person spoke to me. Not you, not your parents, not your friends. I was invisible, worthless, nothing. That's not true, a small voice rang out. Everyone turned to look at Lily, standing brave and tall next to Marcus's wheelchair. You're not worthless, Lily said loudly, her voice clear and strong. You're kind and good, and you listen to my stories, and you have a nice smile. These people are the worthless ones if they can't see how special you are. Some people in the crowd looked down at their feet, ashamed. Others nodded slowly, agreeing with the brave little girl. Richard stared at Victoria with disgust. I can't believe I married someone so cruel and fake. You built our whole relationship on lies. Richard, please, Victoria begged. I can explain. But Richard had already turned and walked away, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. Several of his family members followed him, shaking their heads in disappointment. Victoria collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Her perfect wedding had fallen apart. Marcus should have felt happy. He should have felt victorious. But instead, he just felt tired and sad. Revenge didn't feel as good as he thought it would. Then he felt Lily's small hand slip into his. Come on, Marcus, she whispered. Let's go. You don't need to be here anymore. You kept your promise. Now you can be free. Marcus looked down at this incredible child and realized she was absolutely right. He had kept his promise to Aunt Claire. He had shown up. He had been there. But he didn't need to stay where he wasn't valued. He wheeled himself toward the exit, with Lily walking beside him. As they passed Rosa, who stood watching with wide eyes, Marcus stopped. Rosa, he said gently, your daughter is the most remarkable person I've met in years. She has more kindness in her little finger than most people have in their entire bodies. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, sir. That's very kind. I run several companies, Marcus continued, and I'm always looking for good people. People with integrity, compassion, and strength. People like you. If you're interested, I'd like to offer you a position as my personal assistant. The pay is excellent. The hours are reasonable, and you'd never have to work 3 jobs again. Rosa's hand flew to her mouth. Are you serious? Completely serious. Think about it. Here's my card. Marcus pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and handed it to her. Call me next week. I don't need to think about it, Rosa said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, absolutely yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Marcus smiled. Thank your daughter. She reminded me what truly matters. He looked down at Lily. And as for you, young lady, I'd like to set up an education fund in your name. When you're ready for college, everything will be paid for. You'll be able to study whatever you want, become whatever you dream of becoming. Lily threw her arms around Marcus's neck, hugging him tight. You're the best friend ever, she whispered. Marcus hugged her back, feeling his heart swell with joy. Real joy, not the fake happiness that money could buy, but the genuine warmth that came from real human connection. As they left the wedding hall together, Marcus, Rosa, and little Lily, the sun was setting outside, painting the sky in beautiful shades of orange and pink. Behind them, the wedding continued in chaos and confusion. But ahead of them lay something much better: a real friendship, a fresh start, a reminder that kindness is the greatest gift anyone can give. Sometimes we look for happiness in the wrong places. We think expensive parties, fancy clothes, and important titles will make us matter. But the truth is simpler than that. We matter when we treat others with dignity. We matter when we see people who are invisible to everyone else. We matter when we choose kindness over cruelty. Marcus had been ignored at a wedding by everyone who was supposed to love him. But one little girl in an old yellow dress saw him, truly saw him, and changed everything. Because that's what real love does. It sees, it cares, it acts, and it changes the world, one small gesture at a time. This is Streetlight Stories with Jay, reminding you that you never know how one act of kindness might change someone's entire life. Be that person. Be like Lily. See the invisible, help the hurting, and spread love wherever you go. The world needs more people like that. The world needs more people like you.